Should violent video games be banned? So no Call of Duty, no Grand Theft Auto.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Who decides what's violent?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think so.
If you gotta ban those, you gotta ban your Maddens. That's violent. That's just giving yourself
Sports.
Hockey.
Americans love their football.
Yeah.
all of it.
Right. And then what's the difference between violent movies and
Even
Like-
Mario. It could be
Yeah.
violent.
And just because it's got bright colors and you're jumping on a
Mhm.
toad or a Goomba.
Yeah,
From the Turtles.
I don't believe.
Granted, that's a lot different than a Grand Theft Auto. You know.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I can see like age restrictions depending on what it is. Like GTA is a good example. Like there's more than just violence to
Isn't
that
there? Is there not age restrictions on them?
game. It's you can.
Buying them, but
Yeah.
it's so easy to get around those.
Because
Yeah.
don't you download them all now off the PlayStation
Yeah, you
Store
don't
or
need to
whatever?
prove your age to buy anything off the store.
Even if
Yeah.
you do, isn't it a button that you just click that
Yeah.
says you're
Yeah.
13?
I am 21.
Yeah.
There are like parental controls and parental locks you can put on that stuff, but if you're like me, you know how to get by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are games that are rated M and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, I get there should be ratings and stuff like that, but I don't, because like GTA, for example, there's more things to the game than the violence. There's a lot more stuff that you don't want a kid seeing. Like, it doesn't just stop there. So that's like in a whole different, that's a rated R game, like, or NC-17. Like, that's a really bad game. Kids should not be playing that. But like, violence, though, I don't feel like violence creates, or I don't think violent games create violent people. I think that more falls in line of bullying and like bullying people. I feel like that's more likely to make people violent, picking on people. Like I think people's mental health, them feeling like undermined and stuff like that, that's more likely to turn someone violent, not someone watching Power Rangers or Batman or playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, I play those games because I know it's fake. Like, I can get away with doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I can, separate the two between, real life and a video game.
You
But
can. Can everybody, though?
that's what the question is about.
Yeah, no. So I'm saying you personally.
Yeah, no, I'm just using my.
Mm-hmm.
But if you started video games, when do you stop? Because you could say the same movies, TV shows, the news. Like,
Well,
there's violence everywhere.
I have a bit of a hard relationship with if some group of people can't handle something, then nobody should have that thing.
Right.
Because you could probably kill somebody with a metal fork.
Mm-hmm.
You
If you
can.
tried, or at least blind them,
Yeah.
do some damage,
Yeah.
and
You could easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Because if that's the case, then alcohol should be banned. If that's the mentality, right?
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Like with violent stuff, like not every person that turns to violence even plays video games.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Most people that play video games don't do violent stuff. It's just a small handful of people. So it's like
And if they do, it's slam the desk.
yeah, and it's hard to pinpoint whether or not if they would have did that stuff anyways.
They probably would have.
yeah, I feel like.
Yeah,
I feel like they
but
would've
it's
been
hard. How do you
Yeah.
Yeah.
come to that conclusion that violence or the video game was the reason? Or you hear that stuff about like rap music too.
This
How
is the 90s.
I would say though the argument of what you're exposed to does desensitize you to that thing, and the levels, the extremes of what you're exposed to. I think that's pretty true though.
yeah.
I think in a lot of things, because whatever you're exposed to becomes normal, then it takes more to get on your radar. Now I don't think that necessarily means a jump from animated violence to real violence, but it is true. I think things do desensitize you the more you see something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
And I have heard that argument that like video games and movies, they tend to make it seem like it's okay to beat someone up that's bad. Like there's good violence. You know what I mean? Like it's good to like go after someone that's a bad person and kill them or beat them up or something like that. It's okay because that person is bad.
Isn't that what GTA is kind of like?
Kind
It's
of.
just a
That's
story
every action
mode,
movie,
but it's
right?
just-
Yeah. But isn't there like.
It's a free world.
It's a dark world.
Yeah.
It's a dark universe. It's not ideal. I don't know.
Call of Duty, that's mostly like Nazi
It's in-
World War II, right?
It's
Not all.
every game's different. But
Yeah, it's just militarized.
It's an arcade shooter. Like
Yeah.
it's
They jump times all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like it's always something. Like when I was a kid, it was the violent video games. You said it was rap music.
Rap
Didn't
music.
it all used to be like? Wasn't it like rock and roll music was ruining the
roll,
youth
yeah.
minds and all that stuff? I feel like they're always gonna have something to blame it on.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's true, and that's
I mean, people used to like Elvis.
The
way he
his
moved.
hips and legs
Well,
on TV.
the Beatles. They used to say that stuff about the Beatles,
Yeah.
how they were a bad influence of kids, you know, at that time in the '60s.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's never going to end. People always want to cop out and look for other excuses, you
For
know.
lack of parenting.
And you have to wonder though, as technology evolves and the gamers maybe 2.5, 3, I'm not
Kinda.
sure, maybe
You're a
two,
Yeah,
You
I
play
guess.
games.
Yeah.
3 would you guys say that like augmented reality, virtual reality is the inevitable future of gaming?
Not
No,
necessarily.
Not
you would
anytime
say I would
soon.
say yes. Well, that is I think you're right. But say
Yeah.
20 years from now,
I just
Maybe.
wondering like
because
how.
then it's doing the same thing you do in real life.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's moving really slow, but I do think it will eventually get there because
Eventually, that's
once
the
we
word.
top out on the
That's
graphics, where do we go? Like, you know, there's already 4K. Eventually, I don't know if 8K will ever be a thing, but it's like eventually, it's like where do we go from there? We gotta
Optimizing it, making it run better.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can run a really high. Like I could run 4K on my PC stuff. Doesn't mean it's
Yeah.
gonna run
yeah.
What do you think
fast.
when the time comes? So you said you don't think like
I don't think it will.
VR is
because
going to be an inevitability for video games.
part of the appeal with video games to a lot of people. Yeah, like I think VR has its own section, has its own space where it's, you know, viable, like definitely worth having. But for like a gamer like me, a lot of us like sitting down and like, you know, have like the couch gaming or even at my desk where
Mhm.
Mhm.
like I don't need to be having like a full screen with the the
Yeah.
virtual reality looking around to play a game. Like I just want to play my game on like how I do.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people also agree with me on that.
Yeah.
I think
But what about the upcoming generations that'll want something bigger and better?
I was gonna say I think it would
Yeah.
take
Quote,
like
unquote.
multiple generations to get phased out before like
Mhm.
it'd be kids growing up with the VR and it'd have to be mainstream at that point for it to pick up. I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know if that ever. My
Yeah,
opinion.
because
Yeah.
kids today, they're not impressed by PS5 or graphics. They're not impressed by that anymore. They're used to that. They were used to.
So what do
like
they want?
for us, we're like
Interesting gameplay.
we're with us though. Like we grew up through the the Nintendo and the
Yeah.
low resolution graphics and stuff. So every time we see something new, we're actually impressed. But like newer generations, like they're not as impressed. So they're easier to, or they're harder to actually.
Cool from the
I think it's going to take the right game. There's going to be a game. There's going to be a Guitar Hero,
Yeah.
like what Guitar Hero did for the Wii. I mean, the Wii was already a successful console, but the Guitar Hero just took it to a whole nother level. People were just like jumping on that, made the
And then it crashed
Wii
and
really big. Yeah.
It made it really fun.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think I just don't think that the game for
You can't even hold it in. You can't even hold it in.
Yeah.
That was a bad one.
yeah.
And now he's super proud. Look.
Yeah.
That was
I don't-
gold.
Yeah,
I brought up the Wii though.
I don't think the game has been made yet for VR that's going to take it to where it's going to go. It's coming. There's going to be a game that everyone's like, you got to play this game on VR, and it's going to change it, and then that's when it'll take over.
And if
Just
it's a
that-
GTA version, you're punching hookers and shit and stuff.
Run
You're
them
pulling
over.
people out of their cars, and yeah, see that's why that game's bad. And that's one
Right.
but that is that game is so violent and so different that you can't even compare that to like a Call of Duty. Like I would much rather my son play Call of Duty over like that. You know, there's a lot of things in that.
I didn't want my son playing Call of Duty.
Probably.
Yeah,
True story.
It's weird.
yeah.
You were young. There was no need
I
for you.
was like 11, which
Yeah,
is why it's
that's-
fine. You were just being a parent. I don't
I-
care.
Yeah.
It was.
And then
That's which is what my answer is for this
Yeah.
question. I think you
If
keep
you
them.
don't want your kid playing the violent video games,
Yeah.
don't have them.
Right.
And I know there's so
But
ways
the-
around it.
but
'Cause
then-
what did you do? You went to his house.
But if you're, I mean, if you're,
That is the truth.
Yeah.
Is it not?
I was gonna say I was playing GTA at 11.
like, if you don't let your kids play, so that means there's no Star Wars. They're not allowed to enjoy Star Wars games or movies or anything. Those are violent too. You know, like,
It's the level of I don't know.
yeah, I'm about to say.
It's a level of violence, right? Because
Mhm.
you're talking like a light that they just and nothing really happened in Star Wars. At least the beginning ones. I don't know about the newer ones. I haven't seen them.
Mm-hmm. But
I don't consider them violent movies.
the concept of
They're
life or
violent. They're
death
violent.
is in them, though.
Yeah.
People do
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
It's whether it's
Yeah, I don't know. It's just that goes back to just
yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the issue is people don't take, and people have said this many times, that mental health is actually more a contributing factor to violence than any form of media.
predisposed to
Yeah, I've seen
suicide.
so many people like for the last 15 years, people talking about like there's no correlation between violent video games and
Video
kids
games.
becoming violent. So
Yeah.
And video games have been around for, you know,
Longer than that.
longer time that they can actually like do
Sure.
an
Yeah.
actual study now. I think
Yeah.
because you know,
Oh,
like
sure.
when I was a kid, we had
Now,
Atari.
no, don't get me wrong. Like, if I was wrong about this, and if they were like, we guarantee that we would end all violence if we took away violent video games, I'm all
that's
for it.
not, that's so
That's so
wrong.
out of left field.
Because
Yeah, but if they were to guarantee
Yeah.
that, but I know they won't, and I know they
Right,
can't,
because
and
you
I
can
know
look at
that's not
history.
reality.
You can look at history, like
Yeah, so I'm
there's
just saying,
violence.
I'm not speaking as a person that's a fan of like violent stuff because I do
Right.
play all that stuff. I'm not talking just for my own like.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying like if they were to guarantee or if they were to like prove that it will stop violence, I'm all for taking away that stuff, but I don't believe it. So.
Yeah, I don't either.
gotta take.
Yeah.
No, neither.
I'm not finishing that. Never mind.
I don't think so either. Because before video games, there was still violence.
Mhm.
You know, there was.
True.
Always
Yeah.
has been since
Violence
the-
before technology.
Right.
I was going to say there's violence before technology.
Yeah.
It's been
If
a part of
anything,
our.
crime is
Yeah.
just reported better nowadays.
Yeah.
People they're on top of it now. That's why we hear of it. You know. I don't know if the level of crime has really gone up. I think the reporting on crime has gone up.
I do agree with Tyler though, saying that if you are exposed to it, you do become desensitized. But
Yeah.
Which is why I want my 11-year-old playing Call of Duty.
Yeah.
There was a difference between pixels and an actual.
Yes, I know,
So-
and that
so-
also goes to
but
that too.
so
I
we support age restrictions,
Yes.
but not so we're not as extreme
Yes.
as take away violent everything.
right because then, like you said, you know, again, where you stop movies next.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I can watch a movie, my 6-year-old shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You know, but I can. And I know the difference. Maybe they don't, but I do.
Yeah. That's true.
Hey, definitely age restrictions. Definitely give a parents a heads up of what they're buying for their
Yeah.
kid and not surprised.
And let parents parent.
Mhm.
I'm also a huge fan of that. Yeah. So are we all in agreement here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there we have it.
I remember when it was